Intrusive thoughts. Those thoughts that you have that they're unwarranted. They'll bombard you with some images or things that are inappropriate or that they're not supposed to be in your mind. Even the strongest willed, these are things that come in people's lives. And if it's not well managed or identified in due time, it could lead to serious issues. It could lead to anger, anxiety, rage, violence, and the worst of them all. Others down to depravity, because they are flowing with what the mind is telling them. And the one thing the enemies will always attack is the mind. And you attack a mind through the seeds that are planted. A seed is planted by a word. A seed is planted by an action. A seed is planted even by the simplest action or thought. And they're normally they can start off very innocent. Very, very innocent. And by the time you realize, it becomes a habit. If you ask someone, how do you do first smoke? How do you do first drink? How do you get addicted to pornography? How do you get into, fornication or that, whichever we look at it? They'll always say, well, I felt like this and I thought, let me try it. And everything starts innocent. But there's an adrenaline rush, that dopamine effect, like, let me try again. And before you know it, you're deep down a rabbit hole. And you're so far gone that by the time you're trying to come back again, you really need help, like big help. Because intrusive thoughts, when they get to you, they'll get to you when you're busy and when you're lonely. There is no timeline. Someone can utter a word and you start thinking about it. Next thing, you build something out of it. Someone can make a decision or take an action. Before you know it, there you are. Now, in this time where we have technology and social media has two sides of a coin. The positive side of a coin is this information. The dangerous side of the coin is the information. Is it a biased information? Is it true? Is it information that can be validated? Because, for example, if someone says, we did it. It's a simple word, right? We did it. Okay. Let's say it's a slogan, like what someone has said in a campaign, in an organization, in a moment of happiness, and they say, we did it. Now the question is, what did you do? What's the context of we did it? Did it like you, that individual, or is it that individual and other people? And because we don't properly validate and the emotion has taken the best of it, we did it becomes a slogan, and others even trademark it. Right now, you're in a time whereby, you can say anything as long as you say it in a well that is as long as you deliver it well, it could end up becoming something people will trademark, but no one will ever ask, what do you mean? Like, what is that? Like, right now, the dictionaries and all these things are being put under the carpet. Nowadays, I'll just wake up one day and say something, just a word. Okay, I personally don't have anything in my head right now, but you'll just say anything and people will flow with it. And next thing you know is a hashtag, it's a movement, it's a this or this challenge. And the next thing someone says, I can trademark it. Next thing you know, celebrities, influencers, politicians, name them. Okay. But maybe it was just a dirty or a crazy thought that just popped in your head. That wasn't there originally. You could be driving and then you see like a bridge or something. And you're thinking, I'm forgetting that thing. When a car is about to be towed, when I don't know how to put it, when it's being towed, there's the way, it is not a ramp, the way you can, the way the car has to go up that, I'm forgetting how to call it. It's like a ramp kind of. So they have to go up until it gets to the truck and then it's locked on the wheels. So I'm forgetting that thing the way it is. You could be driving, then you see like, if I could just move that way. Or you could be walking and say, what if I do this? It's always a, what if I, what if I, what if I? And then what if, and it becomes your last. And then the one place we are not careful is, this is where the intrusive thought becomes very common. With social media, there's a lot of information being fed. And you will never know the context as to why most people will share what they will share, or the end game. Some will have positive intent, others will have negative intent. Again, you really don't know the hearts of anyone. And what we watch, what we listen to, and the conversations that we allow have a very big impact on the thoughts that will come afterwards. Because it's when you're just chilling, relaxing, someone will utter a word, and then like a trigger, you remember something. And before you know it, the thing that was never supposed to be serious becomes a serious thing. So we need to be very careful of everything we listen to, what we watch. We need to pray and discern. We need to ensure that as your day ends, you tell God, if there's any door that has been opened by what I watched, what I listened to, what I allowed, Father, shut it, uproot it. Because at the end of the day, you will never know how bad it is until it's done. You never understand the likes of why King David had wives, he had families, and why the thought came into his head to think, what if I try this lady? What if I try this lady? The husband is at war. And then he moved it up a notch. He enjoyed the forbidden fruits. And then he decides, what if I remove the husband and the king? Oh, we know. And then he goes, and then now he thinks, how will I remove the husband? What if I organize for him to go at the battlefield? You continue, and then he goes, who can I give this assignment? Who can be very loyal to me to keep this and no one to ever know? He continues, and then the action is taken, Uriah is gone. And those are the dangers when you start allowing thoughts. Those are the dangers when you start allowing funny imagery running through your mind. We are in a time whereby you open your phone and ad has been thrown. A lady or a gentleman who is almost nude to an extent, he flashed on something, you're just an innocent, you're just watching something and it's like put on, like, one scroll and there it is. If you're not careful to move away and to not allow such things, you become gullible. They start saying, what's the worst that could happen? You see, these are the dangers of intrusive thoughts. It's always, who will know? What's the worst that could happen? It's just me. It's just my mind. It's just my thoughts. But thoughts start with seeds. And whatever you allow, those seeds are planted. And as we know, seeds need to be watered. And once those seeds are watered, they germinate. So by the time the intrusive thought has come into implementation or its manifestation, it's already a seed that has become a tree. And there are many types of trees. And if it's a tree with a strong foundation and with many roots, then you're off. You need to look at even those who start off well in life, and then somewhere along the way, they hit the wrong turn. They all start well. And then someone says, have you tried this? Whatever it may be. And then they say, okay. First, they may be resistant. And then they're like, it's one attempt. Who will know? Who is watching me? They try. And then they're like, let me go and try again. And then they try again. And before you know, that person is lost. And if by God's grace, they're able to come back to reality and you ask them, how did you arrive there? They'll tell you, I just started with one thing. Now it's become so sad that now our mental health has reached in its peak points. And with so many diseases and names. At some point, you don't even know. You'll be given this name or this name and this name, and then there's a lot of pumping of drugs and drugs and drugs. Now become like you're hooked. If you don't take particular type of drug, medication or prescription, this won't work. This, you know, and sometimes we fail even to look at the effects of some of this medication and try to see, do we have other alternatives that could work? Because what happens when you don't find that particular prescription, that medication? What's your alternative? Because if you don't have an alternative that is positive, you'll only go for the next thing that is close to it, and it never gets well. So we should pray a lot, and we should be very careful with every conversation we allow, everything we watch, everything we listen to, and everything we partake of. You don't need to go to every event because you have an invitation, and it doesn't matter who's invited you. You don't need to comment on every conversation in a social media. You don't need to watch everything. You just need to be able to filter what you want, understand what you're looking for, and drop. Because and right now we have so much information, and with so much information, many thoughts and ideas are planted. And if you are not cautious enough, as innocent as those seeds and thoughts have been planted, they will have an impact on you. It will change your demeanor. It will change your thought process. It will change how you approach things. Someone who was very calm turns very violent. If you're watching violent programs, violence is just around the corner. If you're watching too many romantic, you become too emotional. Whatever you watch, whatever you feed, it ends up defining you if you're not careful. And intrusive thoughts will always run rampant, because we are living in a world, and this world is spiritual first, physical second. Because by the time an entertainer has gone and performed the whatever show or skit or music or whatever, some pray to the Almighty God, someone pray to their small god, to their small god, or idols, and others go to shrines, others go to different demonic altars, others go before God. Whatever happens through the word of God, the devil will always do his alternative. And so when that a musician or that entertainer has done their part, if, for example, they openly are saying they have allowed spirits to help them, and now which is becoming now a common thing where they're now accepting it, to make them to perform a particular show or movie or a movie, whatever it is, when they allowed those kind of spirits, they had to have done some rituals. They will never tell you what rituals they did. And whatever after they have done, and if they tell the ritual, they'll only give you, they will not give you the depth. They'll just give you something by the way, kind of. They will never tell you what it entails. If there's a life that was lost, if there's an animal that was, slaughtered or anything of the kind, you never know that. But they'll just tell you, I allowed these spirits and they helped me do this movie, yada, yada, yada. Now, if an entertainer has openly said that they've allowed some types of spirits to help them perform, whether it's in the movie entertainment, in the entertainment industry, whether it's movie, whether it's music, arts, whatever it may be, whatever spirit they allowed, as you are the audience listening, whatever spirit that person accepted, you become prone to whatever thing that comes from them. So whatever demons that are running them, you definitely allow it in your home. You just don't even know it, how fast it comes. Right now, we see imagery of most entertainment industry is very creepy, weird, scary, giving you an eerie moment of is there not anyone going through this information being released? Because if a child looks at it, they get lost. But nowadays, we don't even know who's even checking these types of information. And so you allow things by what you listen to, by what you watch, and before you know it, you have no control. So it's very important. One, identify what is the source. Identify what led to that dopamine rush. Identify and accept is important. First, it's very vital to accept that this intrusive thought is wrong, that this intrusive thought should never have found a foundation in your life. Two, now you've accepted. That's a good thing. Now, identify the source. Was it something I listened to? Was it a conversation? Was it something I watched? And three, whatever that thing is it something that glorifies God? Is it something you're comfortable in your spirit and say, I'm good with it? Or is something that you're saying, if anybody knew, they'll be very ashamed, or they'll do ABCD to me because whatever I've allowed is wrong? We should be very careful what we allow, what we listen to, and the conversations we engage in. It's important to know when to shut people. For example, when Elisha was walking with Elijah, the other prophets were telling him, you know what's going to happen to Elijah. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no, he just didn't give them the moment for them to continue. He didn't entertain the conversations. He didn't entertain them because the moment you entertain, you're done for. When our Lord Jesus Christ was casting out the demons, he didn't entertain them to speak much. After they identified him, you just rebuke them, tell them to be silent, and he didn't entertain them. But look at nowadays, UTC, quote unquote, the deliverance ministry. You're seeing someone ask, when someone is there, they're doing deliverance or exorcism, whichever way you look at it, and they say, hey, so where did you come from? What did you do? And they're thinking, and this person who's possessed is saying, oh, I came from my uncle. But how do you expect demons to tell you the truth? How do you expect the kingdom of darkness to tell you their secrets? The devil does not want to be known. The demons do not want to be known. His agents do not want to be known. So when you're trying to engage them, trying to find the mysteries, you're literally putting yourself in a situation whereby you will get the lies and they'll come packed. If you look at how governments are able to control narratives, they put propaganda, and they put proxy agents, and they put controlled opposition. And then they make sure there are enough disasters to keep everyone running. For example, if they want to steal somewhere, you can have things like blackouts. If they want to kidnap or human trafficking or organ transplant, all those kind of nefarious things, you will have a blackout. You'll have a very bad incident, and then there'll be more than one simultaneously. And then they'll have people who will be talking about it by trying to divert this true conversation. And because people are emotionally attached to these issues, no one will see the true picture. But that's how it works. If what happens with publicity for entertainers, you have different things happening simultaneously in that person's life, and then you have a story. That's why they always say they started from rags to riches. But you ask, but when you validate, you realize they don't even know what rags means. They know riches, but they don't know rags. Because anybody can say, I started from the bottom. I started from nothing. It's simple. Do you know how to know someone started from nothing? Even the conversations they have make you understand. Even if they fake it a lot, you can always tell. If you've gone through something, you can be able to relate. You can't have a proper understanding of marriage unless you're married. You can't have a proper understanding of relationships unless you've been in a relationship. You can't talk about business better unless you've been in business. There's a language that's in that function. You can't talk about a particular career unless you've been in that career. You can't talk about ministries unless you've been in the ministry talking from the ministry with an experience kind of thought, not on a coach laid back, no, but literally on the ground, on the grind. You have to have had experiences. You have to have gone through the door being open or the door being shut, and the constant factor being experienced. So unless you've been experienced in a thing, then you can be able to better explain it. If you go to school and you've done whichever, whether it's high school, whether it's campus, whichever, or tertiary, you'll only understand the subject or whatever you're studying until you become an intern and then advance into getting to being confirmed to whichever position it is. Then you and the person who's currently within the tertiary level, you'll be speaking different languages because you have the expertise. So it's very important also when you get information and it's in something that you want to learn, ensure you're getting from someone who has been there because they understand. A teacher's strength is not in the multitude of their audience. It's being able to give a conversation or a teaching that is based on what is familiar to the people. You can't go to people, let's say you're dealing with pastoralists. You can't go and share information and try to express or do a civic education and tell them about cars. How does cars relate to pastoralists? It doesn't. You have to speak the language that is familiar to them. You tell them about livestock, you tell them about the weather changes, etc. And that applies across everything. So we should be very careful of intrusive thoughts. It's important. And sometimes someone will tell you, hey, I see you are dabbling on some things that wouldn't be what you should be dabbling in. Are you sure this is where you want to go? This is your path? Are you sure everything is okay? Don't ignore. And when you start seeing the red flags within yourself, you might want to deal with that issue before it escalates. So, intrusive thoughts, most important thing, accept that they're there. 2, identify the source. 3, understand. Add this thing, add these thoughts, add this, whatever it is, right. Because if they're not right, I'm sorry. You may ignore them right now, but in your moment of emotions getting the best of you, whatever those intrusive thoughts were, you will act on them. So be very careful what you allow in your mind, in your thoughts, because it will go straight to your heart. Remember, when you have a cup and it has tea or coffee in it, when it spills, it's not the cup that has the value to you. It is what was in the cup. Same thing with intrusive thoughts. It is what will come out through your words or through your action. That is what you should be careful with. So let's be very cautious with what we allow in our mind, in our heart, because if you're not careful to deal with them immediately, they will deal with us and they will destroy us. So identify the source of intrusive thoughts, accept that it's there, identify the source, deal with it when it's there. A pothole is normally small. If it's not dealt with, it becomes very big, and now the whole road needs maintenance. A fire starts with one area. If it's not controlled, it burns the whole place to the ground. Your tongue is very powerful. One word, and it will either build or destroy. So all these things that will come from your lips starts with what you fed your mind, that comes to your heart, that will come. If you take a bottle, a soft drink, and you shake it, as it fizzles out, so what's inside that goes up. So the question is, what is it that you put in this compartment? Because that's what will come out. Be very careful. Be very cautious. Be very prayerful. And discern the times. Just because we have a lot of information, please filter. Please filter very much. Or else, that which you're ignoring will be a thorn in your life. God help us all.